Hi guys, today we are going to be staining this Sasquatch piece. It is 8 layers that I laser cut out of wood using my Glowforge laser, and in the end it will stand up on its own after I glue it. For staining, I'll be using Unicorn Spit Gel Stain. This color is Midnight's Blackness. Then Dragon's Belly, Rustic Reality, and Varathane Wood Stain in Gunstock. And for the Unicorn Spit, you definitely need a spray bottle of water. I highly recommend when working with stains like these to have a pair of gloves to protect your hands, unless you don't mind that much color on your hands. We'll get started using the Gunstock wood stain for the very first piece of the Sasquatch. I want the front to have that reddish brown pop of color. Application is really easy. I'm just using a cotton rag, and in my case I chose to dip it in. I don't water down any of these stains other than with the Unicorn Spit. I'll be using that spray bottle. I just use a really light, like dabbing, swiping motion to put the stain on, and then at times when I notice I've put too much on in a spot, I can wipe it back off. And that piece is done. We'll move on to the next one. For the back piece, I realized that I wanted to make sure it was colored on the very back because you'll be able to see all of it. So I'm just applying the same gunstock stain to the back, and a little more heavy-handed with this because there is a lot of little pockets in the wood that I wanted to make sure that the stain got into so it's a uniform color. So now that I am done with the Varathane, I'm going to go ahead and clean up from that and cap it, and when we get into the Unicorn Spit color. I was trying to figure out where to set these to dry because I need room. My workbench is a mess. Apologies. I don't have a whole lot of space to put things. Well, let's go ahead and color the little owl. I'm going to apply some water. Got a little bit too much water, which isn't a problem. Dab it off a little. Another tip when using the Unicorn Spit, it is handy to make sure that your rag is also wet that you're applying it with, or your paper towel needs to be slightly damp when using the Unicorn Spit. It helps the color spread a lot better. Just using a really small amount of the Rustic Reality brown, and then I realized it was coming out more brown than I really wanted, and this way I can tweak it using a little bit of the wood stain. Mixing them is not a problem, at least as far as I've found. And that's all I wanted to color on that layer. I'm doing a mix of color and not color for these to give it an interesting depth. So in layering colors, because this is kind of a middle piece and I want it to be a nice vibrant green, I'm going to start with just a straight green with the dragon's belly. So I'm applying it undiluted and unmixed. The rag is already previously colored from quite a while ago, so it's dry color and it isn't interfering with this green. It's going to stay nice and bright, and that way I can tweak the next layer with a little bit of black. Again, application is just smearing it around on the wet wood. This stain, if you haven't used it, is amazing. Like, easy to work with, non-toxic. It actually smells good because the creator added a jasmine scent. That way it doesn't stink when you're using it, and it's still safe to use. In this case, I went ahead and did kind of a streaky application, thinking of how trees are horizontally pointy. That's what I'm gonna go with. Again, next layer is a little bit wet, and I'll apply a little bit more green, but now we're gonna add that little bit of black to darken it because it's a further away layer. And I don't pre-mix, I go for it. I tweak it. If it turns out that this had been too dark, I would have added a little bit more green and continued to smear that color around until I got it approximately the way I wanted. And again, just that streaky side to side, horizontal in the effort to mimic the trees. And on the opposite end of the spectrum, because we've got this single evergreen tree in the foreground, I want it to be an even more watered down green. So not as vibrant as the middle green, and definitely not as dark as that back green. And then for where the footprints are, I wanted to add in a lighter brown, so I grabbed my unicorn spit in squirrel. For these next two layers, I went ahead and left them without color. And while everything is still wet, let's go ahead and take a peek at how it is turning out. I'm liking it. We've got that depth that I wanted. Now we have to wait for it to all dry. Now that the back piece has dried enough, I want to go ahead and finish the front of the back piece so that behind the trees, it's that Sasquatch shape with kind of a fur color and texture. So instead of doing that horizontal swiping of the color, it's now a vertical swipe. I'm pretty happy with that, so I'll go ahead and put away the stains and wait for everything to dry. Now that everything is dried, it's time to begin gluing the layers together. I'm using tacky glue and applying it wherever the wood will actually be sticking together. So I generally make sure that I'm not gluing over a blank space where it's not going to actually stick, if that makes sense. And then I get really finicky with aligning each layer here because in the end I need it to sit flush in order for the Sasquatch to stand on its own on any flat surface. Right here, I'm making sure to pinch it together really hard, ensuring that it's actually going to stick and stay together. And now that you've seen that process, let's go super fast. Ta-da! There we have it. And that tacky glue will all dry clear, so it won't show up with all these little white blobs. But there's a little owl, all the little Sasquatches, and I'm glad I stained the back because it looks better than just flash burned wood. and it stands on its own. Thanks for watching!